Hey guys. So I wanted to talk to y'all today about having a 9 to 5 job and if that's where you're supposed to be and if you should quit. So I wouldn't give any advice and say, yes, quit your job. What I will say is that if you don't like where you are, if you don't like your job, you're probably not going to stay there very long. You're probably not going to stay. I would say that this might just be for a season that you're here. So just be patient and be praying, that God would open the door to where you should be and where you would be happy to be. But where you're at, just know that it's probably just for a season. I do want to give a personal testimony for where I'm at. I've had several 9 to 5 jobs. I've had several jobs. I've had sales jobs where I had to work nights and weekends. I had office jobs where I was working Monday through Friday, pretty much 9 to 5. Um, and my most recent job, I was so excited about. It was an answered prayer. It actually required my degree, which I never had a job that actually needed my degree. My degree's in psychology, and this one was a case manager job that required some sort of degree. Psychology was one of the examples. And when I first got it, I was elated. I loved it. It was a wonderful job. The people I worked with were wonderful. I made new friends. My boss was great. But then they kept putting more and more work on all of us. And the caseload just got bigger and the demands got bigger and the pay did not go up. And I would come home stressed. I actually had health problems starting. My whole shoulder was inflamed and in pain where I had to go to the emergency room and I had to go to multiple different doctors. They did X-rays, they did MRIs. They showed that I had a herniated disc, which I had for a while, but it wasn't flaring up until I had this job. Mainly because I was sitting at an office and I had my arm propped up to work on the desk and work on the mouse, and it just inflamed the whole right side of my shoulder and my back. And it took forever for that to finally get alleviated. And they were talking about giving me surgery, which I really didn't want because I had heard terrible stories of people who had neck surgery. And I didn't want to. I felt like I was too young to have surgery like that. So that in itself was a whole testimony that finally I got relief from back pain. And that was a whole nother story I'll have to share another day because it has nothing to do with a job. But I'm saying that to say that the job I had was causing me so much stress that it was giving me physical stress in my body. I also recently had an issue with one of my eyes where I was seeing just like a ring, and I went to the eye doctor and they said that that is from stress. So I've been working on de-stressing, and one of the things that happened was my husband and I were on our 10-year wedding anniversary trip, and my parents had our kids. And so we went to Lake Tahoe, and it was gorgeous. We'd never been there. It was gorgeous. It was beautiful. And while we were there, one bad thing after another happened. There was just little tit for tat things. We wound up arguing. We rented a rental car, and we're not used to snow because we live in the South. And when he was backing in and trying to park, the car rolled up on ice and one of the side mirrors hit a post. So we had to pay for damage on the rental car. Then, whenever we got home, we flew home, our luggage was gone, and my husband's keys were in the luggage. So we had to get an Uber all the way back home from the airport. So the whole trip, we did get our luggage the next day, but the whole trip was pretty much a fiasco, even though it was beautiful. So when we came home, I went and I got quiet and I prayed and I said, okay, God, what? Why was that crazy? What do you want? What am I supposed to do? What am I doing wrong? I just need answers because that was terrible. So I felt like I needed to listen and stop being so busy and see if he had to say something to me. So sure enough, this never popped into my head before. But when I got still and quiet before God, he popped into my head with this idea to work with my relative who has a disability, which is kind of along the lines of what I was doing. I was working with disabled people in my job that was causing so much stress. It's not the people that cause stress, it was the duties of the job and the excess paperwork and all of that. But the people I loved, the people I was working with. But anyway, so he downloaded in my brain that I could get paid basically the same amount. It was a little bit less, but nothing substantial for working just with my disabled relative and doing 2 night shifts and 1 day shift. And then he showed me that then I would be home. So I would have, it's still kind of, it's not 40 hours almost still, but it's not Monday through Friday. It's not the 9 to 5. So I would still be able to be mom and pick up my kids and Carline and bring them and be home with them to do homework and to cook. So I discussed it with my husband to see if he was on board. And he said, of course, whatever, God puts on my heart, if that's what we're supposed to do, we'll make it work. So this was back in April and I officially quit in June. So I've been doing this new schedule and I'm at the family member's house twice a week at night and then 1 day. And we've been fine with our bills. And my kids are able to have me around the house. I'm able to actually cook and not come home exhausted and drained where I don't have any attention to give them. I'm able to actually study. My daughter's grades have gone up because of this. And my husband and I are fine. Like the whole trip to Lake Tahoe was just, I don't know, it was just like a breaking point for God to show me I need to be at home. I need to be at home more, being a wife, taking care of the house, taking care of the kids, because when I was working the 9 to 5, all those other things were getting neglected. The house was getting neglected, the kids were getting neglected. I wasn't having any energy. So I say all that to say that if you are discontent with whatever job you're in right now and you're thinking, am I ever going to get out of this 9 to 5 situation? I'm saying that yes, as long as that's the plan God has for you, just trust Him, pray to Him, keep an open eye when He opens the door. You don't want to miss it, you don't want to ignore it. And I wouldn't say to officially quit without some form of income, but just be content if you're stuck somewhere that you don't like. It's probably just for a season. So that's my story of coming out of the typical 9 to 5. I've always been discontent, thinking that whoever created the 40-hour work week, I don't know, they made us like slaves, because then you come home tired and you only have 2 days for the weekend to spend with your family, friends, and for yourself. So I'm totally on board with everybody who is able to get out of the 9 to 5 gig. And I just hope that this gives you some encouragement that you're not going to be stuck there forever. And I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks so much.